Hi, I'm Dana, and today I want to talk about one of the things that annoys me the most about being autistic, to be completely honest, which is having a very spiky skill set. It's one of those things that I think, along with having sort of like varied capabilities and being like, I go through quite regular bouts of burnout and things like that where my capabilities are just not where they usually are. Combined with that and then having a very spiky skill set where people expect a lot more of me than I'm often able to actually put out, especially based on what they've seen, I feel like it's one of the areas that just makes it most difficult for me to progress within society more than anything. You know, it's not really something that I dislike about myself on a personal level, but it is one of the things that I think makes it a lot more difficult for me to sort of navigate the world and do a lot of things. So as always, little disclaimer at the start that all autistic people are different. This is my experience and my understanding of it and the way that I feel about it. Every other autistic person's going to have a different opinion of some sort. You know, maybe it's similar to mine, but it's going to be different in some way. I'm not speaking for autistic people. I'm not the autistic person. I'm just little old me telling you how I think and feel about things. I kind of just want to get the actual definition up for you, to be honest. I feel like that'll be a lot easier than me attempting to poorly explain it. See, they've managed to put it into a sentence and it would have taken me 7 paragraphs. So someone who has a spiky skill profile is a person who is proficient and often very capable in certain areas and possibly deficient or incapable in others. And that's one of the things I think was quite present and obvious throughout my life, but it was easily explained away by other things. So in school, I did incredibly well at English, music, art to a point, and parts of science. See, and that's where it got tricky because my parents and my teachers and everyone were always very well, you do good at the things that you enjoy because you put the effort in, so if you could just maybe try and put some fucking effort into maths and the other lessons, you might actually succeed at something. And it always really frustrated me because I was very no, I like English, I like music, and I like these other lessons because I'm good at them. You know, the parts of science that I always really liked were things when we were doing things about space, when we were doing things about when we got into how cells work and the way that heat distribution and things like that works, because it's very logical to me and it's slotted into place, and I was oh, I've seen this example in my day-to-day life, and now this explanation from my science teacher explains why that happens. That's really cool. I like that. I see why that works and it's logical. And then other parts of science, a lot of physics, when it came to things the parts of science have a lot of maths, it did not sink in, it did not process. I really struggled with it. You know, I eventually learned enough to do I didn't do reasonably well. I scraped a pass in my sciences, I scraped a pass in math. I just always really, really struggled with it. But people expected me to be able to just study and just learn and just put that little bit of effort in, and I'd be just as good at that as I am at English and at RE. You know, so many of my report cards were if Dana just tried harder, and it always really annoyed me because I was always putting my all in, I was trying my best. I had math lessons that I actually cried in because I was I don't understand this, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, I'm doing the working out and I'm trying my best, and the numbers just aren't doing what they're supposed to do. And I had a really good math teacher, I did get lucky with that, and he'd go through it with me until I eventually understood. But it was just so difficult. Whereas with English and with RE and with music and a lot of other lessons, it was just the teacher explained, I understood it, I did my work, and that was that, and it was done. So personally, I'm someone who left school, went to college for 3 months and then dropped out, got into a relationship and moved in with him, and I was also caring for my dad at the time. And that's where I see very clearly that in day-to-day life and just as a person, I continue to have a very spiky skill set, and that's where I'm it wasn't that I just didn't bother to put in the effort in maths and science, and it wasn't just because, oh well, you like English so you try harder. I am just better at those things, and obviously when something's easier, it's more enjoyable. So then being thrust into housewife domesticity type of thing, I'm shit with words, I'm sorry, but being you know, ending up in that situation in life, it then became very clear that it was I'm really good at cooking. I can cook a fantastic fucking meal. I'm a really good baker as well. I can bake and cook really, really good food. I cannot figure out for the life of me what to cook or which ingredients to buy. I don't remember a time that I've planned a meal or something I'm baking, gone out and bought the ingredients and cooked the meal without having to go out and buy other things that I forgot I needed. It's actually organising what I need to buy and remembering even if I have the list of ingredients, I will fucking forget something won't make it onto the list. It's a struggle. And like, I think there's a lot of things now that I'm talking about that I've attributed to like, well, I like it, so of course it's easier. Because I was about to go into how like I like having clean clothes, I like having a selection of clothes that I can choose at any given moment to change into. So I never really had like big issues with getting my laundry done. Big issues with folding it and actually putting it away. But making sure I have more than enough clean clothes, I can do that part. Making sure I have clean dishes, nah. Like, I've gotten to a point where I do mostly keep very clean dishes. Like, I very rarely have more than like a couple of items dirty at a time. Number one, it's because I fucking struggle to eat. Like, it's just because I'm not using dishes. It's not good or positive or like me doing something. But also just because I have so much anxiety from like all of the years that I wasn't good at that kind of stuff. And I'm like, oh, I've got to do it. And I'm sure I'm probably forgetting other things and like the panic to do those bits, you know? But it's the thing of like, any time in life, if I can do something, the expectation is that I can do everything, and I'm like, I can't. But everyone around me is like, but you can do that, you can cook a meal, of course you can go to the shop and buy the things you need for it. Like, I'll give within that relationship there's a lot of other stuff going on that definitely contributed to things like that, but I think it then became quite obvious again when I had my first like long-term, I always call it my first long-term job, but it was a volunteer opportunity that turned out to be like really quite horrible. My boss just completely like used me. But I worked in a video shop for like 2.5 years, a year and a half, 2 years. It was a while and I loved it. I loved that job. I loved like just getting to like sit in the video shop and sort through tapes and like organise things and stack things and move things. Like, because it was a TV studio come video shop, like all sorts going on in the building. It was a really cool place. So I was like often just given the like task of like, all of these boxes have just come in and they need to go over here and they need to be stacked nicely and out of the way as much as possible, and I get to just sit there and like Tetris a load of boxes for the next 3 hours, you know? And it was things like that where like it seemed as though I was like incredibly capable and really on it, and like Dana really knows what's going on and what to do. And then a customer would come in and I wouldn't be able to speak to them, or someone would phone us wanting to drop off a donation. My boss would be like, I'll take the call, and I'd be like, I can't pick up that phone, I can't speak on that phone, I can't do that, I can't. And it's, you know, it was always a really big shock to my boss, because like I was comfortable around him, I spoke to him, we had like a little like laugh and banter and a good time. Like to a point I would have called him my friend at the time probably, like, you know, we chatted like we were good together. And then I wouldn't be able to speak to some other random person that works in the building, you know? And obviously when it comes to like social things like that, it is very clear to the people around me, like, it's because she's autistic. But it is still very much like, but you communicated fine over here. You can talk in your YouTube videos, you know? It's one that I've had a lot in recent years where people are like, oh, but you can explain this and that, you're so articulate, you can do this and that. And it's like, I cannot speak in front of like strangers. Like, I find it so incredibly difficult, and I might have the odd moment or the odd day that I actually manage it, but like, no. Like, a lot of people have suggested that I should give talks that are like similar to my videos, I suppose, and like, I'd like to, it's something I would love to build up to, but right now in this position, like in the place that I'm in life and everything, I couldn't do it for 10 people, you know? I could not. Like, I couldn't do it for 3. Filming with my best friend is difficult. Like, they are the single person in the world that I've ever been most comfortable with. Like, not just currently, but like in my entire life, they are the person that I'm most comfortable around. And we have like 7 minutes that I edit out of every video that we've ever done where I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do, Winter, I don't like this, don't look at me while I do this, it's so weird and awkward, I hate it. Yeah, and that's my like #1 favourite person in the whole entire universe. Like, I could not sit in front of a million people and do this. Especially with masking, and it's just like the sort of like general shame that comes with being a disabled person and everything. I find it so much easier to just sort of let people believe I'm more capable of things than I am. And I think that like some of it is masking as well, because I'm definitely someone who has like lost ability since finding out I was autistic, and like even since last time I went through burnout, there's definitely things that I find more difficult now. I think it's also a thing of some of my like capabilities were things that I was like heavily masking to be able to do. And unmasking and not being able to like put on that persona anymore because it was exhausting. Those things that I had to use the mask to do, I can't really do anymore. And it feels like I'm getting less and less of a spiky skill set and just more and more things that are really hard. But having said that, there are still things that I am just sort of like naturally good at, you know? Like, since moving and everything, they've gotten a little bit beaten up, but I am still thinking about puppet, I was gonna say working on it, I'm not, I'm still thinking about puppet tusk quite a lot, and it's the kind of thing where I'm like, yeah, I feel like a lot of people wouldn't be able to sit down and just make those paper puppets like I did. I think they look really cool and I think they're great. Like, I really am proud of myself for making those. I do want to remake them, to be honest. I am going to make it. It is going to be a thing. It's just going to take me fucking forever. But, you know, I do definitely have skills that... I have skills, is what I'm trying to say. Like, I definitely do have things that I'm good at. But it feels like, especially when it comes to jobs and daily life, it's not good enough to have some skills that you're good at, you know, because the things that I'm bad at completely fuck over the rest of it. Like, when I've applied for jobs and it's like, I think I'd quite like to be a receptionist, to be completely honest with you. The idea of like welcoming people in and being like, just sit there and someone will be with you, and like doing my little like bit of, like computer work, I like that. But I can't answer a fucking phone. Like, and similarly, it's like I can write like fucking like 50,000 long word fan fiction, but I can't write like a nice little, hey, do you want to hang out sometime? Text to somebody that isn't my best friend. Like, my church doesn't have any services on during August, so one of the ladies took my number to add me to like a group chat with everyone, because I do like really genuinely like the people that I go to church with. But the link that she sent me is one to download WhatsApp instead of actually like going to the group chat. And all I need to do is message her saying like, oh sorry, that's the wrong link, could you do it a different way? And I just haven't. It's been like 3 weeks. I just haven't done it. And yeah, I'm writing fanfic. Like, it's just, it feels silly a lot of the time, but it also, you know, like, that example is a little silly, but a lot of them are a bit more serious and really do, like, bother me in day-to-day life, and really do, I feel like, affect my ability to be able to, like, work and do jobs and do things, and, you know, even being self-employed. It's all a bit rough, and I don't enjoy it very much. And it also feels very difficult to like know what to learn and what to do to like balance it all out. It's a struggle. I struggle. As always, I would really love to hear what you guys think on this. Like, it is quite a... I don't think this was like super disjointed and rambly, don't get me wrong, but it's also like something that I am definitely still figuring out. So having other people's thoughts and opinions and experiences and things, I think would really help my little brain to know what's going on a bit more. That's the thing, is like, once I've been talking for like 15 minutes, I also start like losing words. I'm just like, I can't think of like any of the words that I'm trying to say anymore. So I am going to go, but before I do, I'd really like to quickly remind you that there will be a link here to go to Winter's GoFundMe, because we are really close to having it fully funded and actually getting them a chair. I post 3 times a week. I know that that means that it like feels like I'm telling you about it like every fucking day, and I'm really sorry. I don't mean to be like that, but like, they need a wheelchair. I'm sorry, that's how it be. So if you can share the link, that is incredible and amazing, and I love you. If you can donate, that is also amazing and incredible, and I also love you. If you want to ignore it, you can. I don't really, you know, that's your prerogative, innit? I'm gonna take a wee moment for some more self-promotion though, because I would also like to survive and buy a washing machine still. So you can follow me over on Instagram and TikTok. You can also like this video to help me out in the algorithm, I believe, and you could subscribe. That's really fun. Not long hit 10,000, so a million's on the way, I'm sure. And you can also help me out over on Ko-fi or Patreon if you wanted to. There is no pressure, especially when I've just been like, help me out with this really important thing. Like, there's no pressure, it's alright, but they will be linked down below if you want to check them out, along with Winter's GoFundMe. And that is enough from me. So whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.